Hello, let me welcome you to Mindful African Motives, whereby in today's presentation, we are going to look at business studies grade 10. So business studies grade 10, term 2 revision, term 2 revision. So that is that we're going to do business studies grade 10, paper 1. So we are mainly going to look at section C, which is an essay questions. So section C, it is always what an essay question. So in this paper that was written in Northwest Province, we are going to do what today? An essay question of business studies, grade 10 paper 1. So let us be together from the start of this presentation to the end of it, as we are going to do together this provincial assessment. Uh, Without wasting much time, let us go straight to the questions uh, of section C, which I have already said they are essays questions. So here we are on our section C. So section C, as it says, answer any one question in this section, but as we are going to answer both question 5 as well as question 6. Note, clearly indicate the question number of each question that you chose, and the answer to each question must start on a new page. For example, question 5 on a new page, question 6 on a new page. So now we are on question 5, business environments. Business environments, where we are going to talk about micro market as well and internal relationship between the environments. So now, as it says, business should have a sound understanding of the micro environment and its components. The business environments do not operate in an isolation, but instead there exists in an interrelationship between the business and the external environment. So now it says, bearing the above statement in mind. So we're talking about this statement. Bearing the above statement in mind, write detailed essay on the following aspects. So we are given these aspects. The first one, outline various components of microenvironment. Outline various components of microenvironment. The second aspect, explain the reasons why competition poses a challenge to business. So the third aspect, discuss the relationship between micro market and macro environments. So the last aspect on question 5 says, suggest the reason why the following macro environment components can be a challenge to a business. That is when you're talking about technological, social, cultural, and democratic environments. So these are our aspects that we are going to build our body of our essay with. Remember that the structure of our essay, we first have to start with introduction, then come to body, and then conclusion. So this is how our essay is structured. So we do have answers. Let us go through these answers and then we discuss them together. So here we are on our answers. Like I've said, we first have to start with what? Introduction. We first have to start with the introduction before we can attend to those aspects. So our intro is like this. The micro environment is the environment within which a business operates and consists of the business itself. Meaning to say, the micro environment is an internal environment. Macro environment is an internal environment. Is an internal environment. So it is an internal environment of the business where daily activities take place. So it includes everything inside the business that management can control. Everything within the business that can be in control of what? Of management. For example, a coffee shop A clothing shop deciding how many workers to employ and what products to sell. So they can control that. That is that. Then the micro environment is the decision-making environment. It is a decision-making environment. Why? Because management make decisions that help the business achieve its goals. So meaning to say it is a decision-making environment. Like we are saying, the macro environment is called that decision-making environment because management make decisions to help the business achieve its goals. For example, managers decide to increase advertising to attract customers. So that is that with people. Macro environment can also refer to as the immediate environment, in which business operates and includes all internal factors of the business. So we are saying now it is an immediate environment. Immediate environment. The macro environment, also known as the immediate environment, because it directly affects the daily operations of the business. We can talk of workers, we can talk of machinery, business policies, affect production every day. That is why we say it's an immediate environment. That is that. So also it says businesses are also influenced by two external environments called the market environment as well as macro environment. So here we're talking about the external environment. So we are talking about the external environment. So you said that we're talking about business are influenced by two external environments. So those two external environments are market environment as well as macro environment. So when we're talking of market environment, we're talking of customers, suppliers, competitors who are found outside the business, but they are directly outside the business. We are saying they are found external outside business, but they are directly outside the business because they are closest to business. They are closest to business. So that is that. Also, we have macro environment, which is also external environment. When you talk of macro environment, you have economy, technology, policies, inflation. They are also found outside, but they are indirectly outside the business. So business has no control at all on those on macro environment. So hope you are together on that. So the three business environments are interrelated and influence one another. Here we're talking about the interrelation of environments. So three environments influence one another continuously. So that is that. So for example, you can say new technology is macro environment may force business, which is micro environment, to compete differently in the market environment. So that is that. So now any relevant introduction related to components of micro environment, the difference between borrowed and own capital, the relationship between three environments, reasons why technological, social environments pose a challenge. It's accepted. So that is our introduction. Now let us come to the body of our introduction, where we have said our body, we are going to build it with those aspects that we are given. So the first aspect there is components of the macro environment. Components of the macro environment. We are asked to talk about what? The components of micro environment. As it says, vision refers to a statement that explains what a business aims to achieve. We are talking about what? A vision. So a vision is a statement explaining what the business wants to achieve in the future. In the future. So that is that. So what it means is that a vision explains what the business wants to achieve in the future. For example, to become a leading fast food restaurant in South Africa. So that is our vision. That is our vision. So let us move on. So now we come to the mission of the, or I mean, a mission statement. A mission statement describes what the business provides and the reason for the business existence. So what it means is that the mission statement explains the purpose of the business and what it provides. That is that. For example, we provide affordable and quality meals to customers. That is our mission. That is our mission. So now let us move on to another point still under the components of the macro environment. So it says goals can be defined as long as term objectives of what the business want to achieve uh, the want to achieve. So we're saying goals can be defined as long as objectives of what the business want to achieve. So here we're talking about what the goals. That goals are, we know goals are long term of the business. Goals are long term of the business wants to reach. So that is that. Now we come to objectives. Objectives is the short-term task or steps that guide the business how to achieve the goals. So those are the objectives. Meaning to say, objectives are short-term steps so used to achieve goals. For example, increase monthly sales by 15% this year. So those are short-term steps that we are using to achieve our goals. Strategy now. Strategy outlines how the business will achieve its vision in line with the mission statement and objectives. So this is a strategy. A strategy explains how the business will achieve its goals and vision. So that is that. For example, using online marketing to attract more customers. So that is our strategy. Organizational culture refers to how things are done in the business. Organizational structure. So organizational culture, not structure, but organizational culture. Organizational culture refers to the way things are done in the business. For example, a company encourages teamwork and punctuality. So that is that good people. Also, organizational resources are the assets that the business uses to produce goods or services and to achieve goals. So we are talking about the resources. So resources are assets used to produce goods and services. So types of resources, you can talk of human resource, that is workers. You can talk of financial resource, that is money. You can talk of physical resource, those are machines or buildings. So that is that. So now let us move on. Organizational structure is how the business will be organized into a structure that show each person's tasks, the level of authority, responsibility, also called the organogram or the hierarchy. So that is organizational structure. So when we think of organizational structure shows authority, responsibility, positions in the business. For example, you can talk of manager, supervisor, the last be the employees. So now let us move on. The business functions are important components and tasks or departments needed for the business to operate or produce. So these are business functions. Business functions are departments necessary for operations. You can talk of marketing, function, finance function, human resource function, purchasing function, production functions. So management and leadership are needed to achieve the business direction by means of leading, controlling, and motivating workers to achieve the business goals. So these are what you call management and leadership. So managers guide, motivate, and control workers to achieve goals. So that is that. A manager motivates employees to meet monthly sales targets. That's what we are trying to say. So now let us go to come to another aspect. The other aspect is reasons why competition poses a challenge to a business. So that is the aspect that we are going to talk about now. So Reasons why competition poses a challenge to business. Competition is one of the components of the market environment. Poses a challenge to a business because it is not within the control of the business. It is not within the control of the business. So that is why it's going to pose what a challenge to a business. So business cannot control competition, like we are saying. So competition is part of market environment and cannot be controlled. So for example, a new market opens near existing one. There is no way that we can control that. So that is that. Consumers will buy from the business where they get the most value for money and they could choose the competitor. That is that. Customers may choose competitors. So customers buy where they get better value for money. For example, consumers buy cheaper bread from another shop. That is the reason why competition poses a challenge to a business. So that is that. Business, business could find business could find that they are unable to make sufficient profit when the demand is not high enough. So reduce the profit because of low demand. A low demand may reduce profits. For example, too many cell phone shops in one area reduces the sales. Hope you are together, good people. Business could find it hard to differentiate itself from its competitors to gain what you call competitive advantage. So meaning we are talking about difficulty in differentiating products. Difficulty differentiating products. Difficulty in differentiating what? Products. Because business may struggle to stand out from competitors. For example, two clothing shops selling similar styles. So that is that. New entrants with better products can also enter the market and divide the market even more, thus decreasing the business market share. New entrants reduce market share. New businesses may attract existing customers. That is that. New business may attract existing customers. That's what we are trying to say. A new fast food outlets attracts customers from nearby restaurants. So that is that, for example. Let us move on, good people. Competition keeps price down and reduces the business profitability. So prices remain low. Competition forces business to lower prices. So that is that. Tech services reduce fares to compete. So that is that. It forces business to find new ways to produce an existing product or develop a new product or service. So need for innovation now. Business must improve product or create new ones. That is because of what? Competition. Business may close down if it is unable to compete with other business. So business may close down. Failure to compete can lead to closure. Failure to compete can lead to closure. That's what it means. So competition reduces the business market share and is target market. So reduce market share and is target market. So it means competition take consumers away. That is that. So another aspect that we are asked to talk about is the relationship between the micro market and macro environment. That is another aspect that we are to talk about. As it says, changes in the macro environment may affect the micro environment, which may then affect the market environment. So, as we are saying, macro environments affect micro environment. Changes in the micro environment affects business internally. New labor laws, for example, new labor Loss forces business to change working hours. So that is why we are saying macro environment affect micro environment. The labor laws are macro environment. So they affect micro environment. They are going to affect you to change your working hours in the micro environment. We're talking about the business. Let's move on. Businesses, the macro environment, are in the constant interaction with components of the market as well as macro environment. Constant interaction. So business interact with market and macro environment daily. For example, business buy from suppliers, that is market environment, and sell to customers. That is as well what? The market environment. Hope you are together on that. Businesses are challenged by changes in the market and macro environment, which cannot be controlled by business. So here we're talking about external challenges. External challenges affect what? Affect business. Market and macro challenges cannot be fully controlled. So that is that. You'll find that inflation increases operating cost and the business cannot control that. Hope we're together, good people. Changes in the market environment may affect the macro environment. So that is that market environment influences business. So changes in the market environment affect internal decisions. For example, changing customer taste force business to introduce new products. So the customer preferences or taste are in the market environment. Then they can force business, we are talking about internal environment, to introduce new products. That is why we are saying market environment influences the business. Hope you are still on one page, grade 10s. Business must adapt to challenges from the macro environment by formulating strategies to cope with these challenges. So here we're talking about business must adapt. Business must adapt. Business develops strategies to cope with external challenges. That is that. A shop starts online sales during economic difficulties. That is that, for example. So let us go to another aspect that we were asked to talk about, reasons why the following macro environment components poses challenge to a business. So the first macro environment is technological environment. Technological environment. As it says, business may not be able to keep up with or be aware of the latest technology. So business cannot keep up with technology. Technology changes rapidly. It changes rapidly. So for example, business still using old computers become less efficient. That is that. Employees may not be skilled to operate or maintain new technology equipment. So workers may lack skill. Employees may not know how to use new machines. For example, workers struggle to operate automated equipment. That is that, good people. Staying up to date with the latest and greatest technology can be expensive. Technology is expensive. Technology is expensive. Modern systems and machines cost a lot. For example, buying advanced factory robots is costly. That is that. Business experiencing systems failure will be rendered paralyzed, which will cause the business to lose capital due to stalling in operations. So that is that. System failure. System failures disrupt operations. Technical breakdowns of business activities. For example, business, we can say supermarkets computer system crashes during trading hours. You see, that is that. So let us move on. Business IT systems may be hacked by the fraudsters. They may be hacked by the fraudsters, and this could expose is confidential information and be damaging to the business. So that is that. So you'll find that we have those cyber crime or hacking. Cyber crime or hacking. So hackers may steal confidential information. For example, customer banking information gets stolen online. So that is that. So let us move to another aspect that we were asked to talk about or to write about: social, cultural, and demographic environment. So it says social issues affect consumer spending and business profitability. So social problems affect spending. Social problems affect spending, where we can say poverty and unemployment reduce customer spending. For example, people buy fewer luxury goods during unemployment. That is that. Serious health issues have negative effect on employees. Health issues reduce productivity. So illness affects employees' performance. So that is that with people. Customers may not be able to afford products because of low income levels. Because of low income levels. So that is that. Low income reduces buying power. Customers may not afford products. So that is that. So you'll find that families cannot afford expensive electronics. So that is why we are saying customers may not be able to afford products. Problems may arise because of the different cultural backgrounds and may create conflict in the workplace. So we are talking about what? Problems that may arise because of different cultural. So we're talking about cultural differences may cause conflict. That is that. So different beliefs and customs, different beliefs and customs may create misunderstanding. May create misunderstanding. So business may not be conversant with local languages of their customers. So language barriers now. Business may struggle communicating with customers. For example, staff cannot explain products in customers' home language. Hope we are still on one page. Great terms. Let us move on to conclusion now. Let us conclude question 5. Let us conclude question 5. That is that. Conclusion. The micro market and macro environments does not exist in an isolation. Instead, they are interrelated. So macro market, macro environments are connected and affect one another continuously. Businesses have more control over more control over micro environment than over market as well as macro environment. So as it says, the market and macro environment comes with its own set of threats. Opportunities, and business has a little control over the market environment. So that is that. Now we are to attend to question 5. Question 6, I'm sorry. We are to attend to question 6. So now let us be on question 6 with people. Question 6, business operations. That is when we're going to talk about business functions and the concept of quality. As it says, the purchasing function plays an important role in purchasing quality of raw materials and services for the business. The purchasing manager needs to ensure that the business has sufficient capital and follows the purchasing procedure to place an order. The National Credit Act impacts the business both positively and negatively. So now you are to write an essay on the following aspects. Outline the purpose of the purchase function. Explain the difference between owned and borrowed capital. Discuss any 4 steps of the purchasing procedure. Evaluate the impact of evaluate the impact of National Credit Act. That is when we talk about positives and as well as negatives. So that is that. So now let us quickly go to our answers and discuss our answers. Let's quickly go there. So, as I've said, let's just go to our answers for question 6. So here we are on question 6. So remember, we are going to start with what? Introduction. So introduction under question 6. Remember, on question 6, we have to talk about business functions and concepts of quality. So it says the purchasing function is responsible for buying quality raw materials and services for the business. So purchasing function buys quality goods and service that are needed by the business. That is their role. So the purchasing function should continuously look for new and better suppliers. So they are the ones who look for suppliers. They compare the prices of the suppliers. They look for reliable suppliers who are not that expensive, but who provide the quality products. So now it again says the purchasing function should place orders with suppliers and on follow up on them to ensure that ordered products are delivered on time. That is what they do. They purchasing function, they follow up on orders. Meaning to say, they place orders, so the purchasing department places and follows up orders. For example, a school orders textbooks and checks delivery dates. That's what you mean. So the purchasing function should ensure that ordered goods are delivered at the agreed price, right quantities, and right quality. So it means what you are trying to say is that they have to ensure correct delivery. So that is that. Goods must arrive in the correct quantity, quality, as well as price. For example, a shop checks whether 100 ordered cold drinks bottles were delivered. So that is that. Now let us move on to another aspect. So the other aspect is the purpose of the purchasing function. The purpose of the purchasing function. So as it says, the financial function uh, has to obtain capital from the most suitable sources. So that is that. So we are talking about what? The financial function. So these purposes are for financial function. They are not for purchasing function. And the aspect that we were asked to talk about are the purpose of purchasing function. So these aspects that are mentioned, these ones, they are for financial function. These ones are for they are for financial function. These ones are for financial function, not uh, not purchasing function. So the question wants us to talk about the purchasing function. So it's a mistake whereby we say the purpose of purchasing function only to find that we are talking about what? The financial function. So now we have to talk about the purpose of what? Purchasing function. The purpose of purchasing function. Purpose of purchasing function. So the first one that is to build good relationship with suppliers. Build good relationship with suppliers. Good relationship with suppliers. So that is that. Reliable suppliers help the business operate efficiently. So that is the purpose or the role that is played by this function, purchasing function. So also again, maintain proper stock levels. The purchasing function maintains proper stock levels. Maintain proper stock levels. Maintain proper stock level, meaning the business should not buy too much or too little stock. So that is that. Also, we can talk about prevent shortages and delays. Prevent shortages and delays. So you'll find that goods must arrive on time so production or sales can continue smoothly. So that is that. Also, the role or the purpose of this function is that they ensure good quality products are purchased. Ensure good quality products are purchased. Good quality products are purchased. Are purchased. So meaning to say, this helps business produce quality goods or services. So they also again, their purchasing function, they also again buy goods and materials needed by business. They buy goods and materials needed by a business. Needed by the business. So, for example, a bakery buy flour, sugar, and eggs. So that is that. So those are the purpose of purchasing function. Like I've said, this is what we were asked to talk about. Only the mistake that happened is that we did write well the purpose of purchasing function, but we gave the explanations or we gave the purpose of the financial function, which is wrong. So now let us go to another aspect that we were asked to talk about, the difference between own and borrowed capital. That is where we are. Differences between own as well as a borrowed capital. That's where we are to be now. Difference between owned and borrowed capital. So, as it says, owner provides capital. Permanent capital as a company is not under obligation to repay the amount. Own company, money provided by the owner. For example, owner invests personal savings. That is that. So permanent capital does not need repayment, no liability. Return is profit sharing. So that is that. That's what we are trying to say. Also, it says, under borrowed, money is obtained from financial institutions. Temporary capital, as it is not repaid after a fixed period. We're talking about a borrowed capital. Money is borrowed from banks or lenders. For example, business loan from bank. So temporal capital must be repaid with interest, considered a liability. A return is interest payments. So that is that. So this is what we are talking about. Borrowed capital is a liability for company. So return on capital is paid in the form of interest. So here, like the own capital is not a liability for business. So return is on profits. So that is that. Those are the differences. So now let us be on another aspect. So the other aspect that we are to talk about is steps of the following. Steps of the purchasing procedure. Steps of the purchasing procedure. Determine the need for product or requisition. Determine the need or requisition. So the business identifies what products are needed. That's what it means. Business determine what products are needed. So it says, liaise with the financial department to establish the budget for the purchasing of goods or service. So that is that. Also determine the products or material resources needed by the business. Find the right quality, quantity of goods or services at the right price and at the right time. So that is that. So in short, what it means is that it means that the business identifies what products are needed. For example, a bakery realizes that it needs more flour. So that is what you are trying to say. So the other one is to determine the price of the product. That is another step for purchasing procedure. For the purchasing procedure, that is true. So as it says, find the best price by obtaining quotes or tenders or making enquiries. So, meaning to say, with determining of the price, the business compares prices from suppliers. For example, getting quotations from 3 suppliers so that you can try to compare or try to make a comparison. That is that. Select or choose suitable supplier. Choose a supplier. So you have to choose what is supplier. So as it says, the purchasing department should choose reliable suppliers for its raw materials and the products. So you choose the reliable suppliers who are going to be there whenever you need them. So that is that. Evaluation criteria based on quality of raw material, prices, and delivery time should be used to select the best suitable supplier. So when you select the suitable supplier, you're going to look at their quality of their raw materials, their prices. Their prices should be affordable. Also make sure that they don't make delays when they are delivering your products. Your orders arrive to yourself in time. That is that. So that is that when you are talking about that. So the purchasing department should conduct through investigation about potential suppliers, their reputation and their reliability. So you have to do that. Try to find their reputation and reliability of your suppliers. That is choosing of the suppliers. The best supplier is selected. So you're choosing the supplier with quality goods and fast delivery. So that is that. Now placing an order. Placing an order. So now you place order. As it says, the purchasing function should place an order in writing so that goods delivered can be compared with the order, so that it will be easy to make that comparison when you receive your goods. Then you will, if you have just written them, it will be easy for you to make that comparison because you'll be looking of what you've ordered and what have been delivered. So that is very important. Confirm the prices of the products on order to avoid unexpected surprises when payments are made. So that is that. Make sure that you confirm the prices of the products on order so that you're not going to see the surprises when you have to pay. So that is that we're not talking about placing an order. The business official order goods, like sending an order from the supplier, that is that. Let us move on as we are still on that. Now we are to receive or we are to collect the order. As it says, collect or receive the order. The purchasing department should ensure that the right orders are delivered and recorded. So that is their role, that they have to make sure that they are going to have the right order. Goods that they have ordered, materials that they have ordered are the ones that are delivered. So that is what they have to do. The quality and quantity of stock received should be checked against the order. So that is that. The purchasing department should keep a copy of delivery note for records keeping purposes. So you must keep the copy of delivery note for the record purposes. That is that. Now, after that, you pay the supplier now. After receiving the order, it means now you have to pay order because you have checked the goods. Goods are checked upon arrival. You have done that. So we have checked that if 50 chairs were delivered correctly, if you ordered what? 50. That is when you receive an order. Now we have to pay the supplier. The supplier receives payment after delivery. So that is when, for example, paying with electronic fund transfer after receiving an invoice. That is what you do. As it says, purchasing department instructs the financial department now to pay the supplier after delivery of the order. So now that is when the financial department now will have to pay, because now the purchasing function now will have to instruct the financial department to pay. That is that. Now the supplier must provide copies of the requisition form to the purchasing department. That is that. The purchasing department must provide delivery note to the financial department. Now the supplier sends the invoice to the financial department for final payment after satisfactory of the delivery. So that is that. Now let us move on to the distribute the stock. Distribute the stock, meaning the goods are sent to relevant departments now. Now they are there in the business. Now they are to be distributed to the departments now of the business. That is, for example, office paper distribute to different departments. So that is that. So the purchasing department should ensure that proper distribution of stock or raw materials to all relevant departments. That is as well the task of the purchasing department. Distribution of stock should be in line with the prerequisite orders from each department to avoid stock loss. So when you are doing that distribution, make sure that they align with the request or the orders from each department. Complete the order now. That these documents are filed for records now. As it says, ensure that all correct documents is in place and file them for future reference. So that is that. So now we are on 6. We are on the impact of National Credit Act on business operations. That is where we are now. So positive, as we are going to talk about the impacts of NCA, we are first going to start with positive or advantages. It says lower bad debts resulting in better cash flow. So fewer customers fail to pay debts. So that is that. For example, stores lose less money from unpaid accounts because of this act. Protects business against non-paying customers. So only qualifying customers receive what? Credit. So that is why I'm saying it protects business against non-paying customers. Increased cash sales as credit can only be granted to qualifying customers. So it increases what? Cash sales. Customers often pay cash instead of credit. Customers pay cash instead of credit. So for example, more immediate payments improve what? Cash flow. That is why we increase cash sales as credit can only be granted to only qualifying customers. So it means those who are not qualifying, what are they going to do? They are going to buy with cash. Prevents reckless lending by financial institutions. So it prevents reckless lending. So business avoid giving credit irresponsibly. So we know, for example, bank assess income before approving loans. That is that. That is how they prevent reckless lending. Ensures that business settle their debts on time so that they can obtain good credit scores. So that is that. It encourages debt payments. Business pay debts on time to maintain credit records. So that is that. Ensures that credit process is transparent. For example, both business and customers know their responsibilities. So you're talking about the transparency. Rights and responsibilities are clearly explained. For example, loan agreements clearly show interest rates. So that is that. So now let us come to the negatives or disadvantage of National Credit Act of National Credit Act. Negatives or disadvantages of National Credit Act. As it says, business are forced to budget to keep more cash and have enough cash on hand for stock purchases with people. So that is that business must budget carefully. Business must budget carefully. Less access to credit means business need more cash. So business, for example, a business saves cash before buying stock. That is that. Business cannot take the risk of selling poor quality goods at the higher prices. Because of what? Because of National Credit Act. So that is why we're saying poor quality goods cannot be sold easily. Business must provide quality products. So that is that. For example, the customers can demand refunds for defective products because they are going to be protected by this act, National Credit Act. Business can no longer carry out credit marketing. They are no longer going to carry out credit marketing, reduce credit marketing. Business can not freely offer credit promotions. So that is that. This leads to loss of sales, as many business may no longer qualify to buy on credit. So NCA leads to loss of sales. Loss of sales. Some customers no longer qualify for credit because customers are going to be denied. They're going to be denied those who are not qualifying. Business can only buy limited stock as credit is not available, resulting loss of customers. So that is that. Limited stock purchases. Business buy less stock due to limited credit. So that is that. The Act complicates the purchasing process due to too much administration work in the credit providing process. More administration. So extra paperwork slows process. The purchasing department must know the terms and conditions of credit granting and the National Credit Act. So need to understand the Act. Business must know legal credit rules. It may take longer to purchase goods, and this could influence the overall efficiency of the business. That is that. So as we have said, it may take longer to purchase goods, slower purchasing process. So approval procedures take long. So that is that. For example, waiting for loan approval before purchasing equipment. You see, that is why I say it may take longer to purchase goods. The Act compels business to sell quality products, or business may be forced to reimburse the consumer. So business must sell quality products. Poor quality products may lead to refunds. So that is that. So now we are to conclude our question 6 now. As it says, a conclusion, the business needs to have a sound understanding of National Credit Act. Business needs strong purchasing and financial systems to operate successfully. So the National Credit Act, we know very well that it protects both business and consumers, but business must understand and follow its rules carefully. So that is that. So as it says, as this can impact their business both positively and negatively. So this is the end of our presentation for an essay question for you guys, for you grade 10s. Thank you very much for your time.